work through that. Yep. So can you explain the which any specific requirement you are picking, Leela?
The first one, lender can only access the credit application assigned to them.
Okay.
So I'll try to share. I don't know how.
Okay. Hang on. I need to stop sharing mine.
Okay.
So then only you will be able to share.
Okay.
Okay. Stop share. Nope. Go ahead.
I clicked on share screen.
Yep. Just share screen. I think it will come up in a probably few seconds. Make sure. Yep. Multiple participant can share. So I think you should be good.
Can you see?
No, not yet. Can you try again, share screen again? And make sure you select the left one, top left, which says screen. So it will share your complete desktop.
Top left. Is it the green button, share screen button?
Yep, that's the one. Yep. So you click on it and then it will pop up another window. And
Okay.
you make sure you select screen from there. And then click on share. Yep, I think your screen is coming up. Okay, that's great. We can see it now, Leela.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and explain, Leela. I think I can see it. You are following certain things, so which is good.
Yeah. So lender can only access the credit application assigned to them. So I started with credit application. So one is application assigned to lender and another is application not assigned to lender.
Leela, before you go that route, can you explain the process where this functionality fits in? Lender application, credit application. What really happens in the business process as well? Whatever your understanding is, right or wrong.
Lender login
Okay.
as lender, and he is accessing the credit application form.
Sure.
So maybe he's clicking on the application ID number.
Okay.
So that ID will he will recognize his application forms that belongs to him with the ID number.
Okay.
So he can click on the ID, application ID, which belongs to him. And if he clicks on the application that doesn't belong to him, he won't be able to access.
Okay.
So that's what I try to.
Sure. And what happens before this process? I mean, how does the application gets assigned to the lender?
The dealer, when the customer comes to the dealer,
okay,
dealer will calculate the loan
okay,
amount and send an email to the lender, notification to the lender,
okay,
with the application, and then the lender makes a decision. Lender accesses the credit application and makes a decision.
Okay. Okay, you are almost there. It's not 100%, but I think you understand the flow here. So customer comes to the shop, dealer calculates the loan, whatever he needs to do, and then submit the credit application on behalf of customer.
Yeah.
And that triggers a notification. And from their point, lender will take a look at whatever form of notification it is, whether it's an email, I think it's an email here. So then lender logs in and try to access the application so that they can work through it, right? So
Yes.
that's the business process.
Yes.
You are trying to, this scenario is testing kind of like a, it's kind of like a, we will test that particular business process.
Mhm.
Okay, now go ahead. See what you have. Let's understand your thought process here.
So then lender tries to access the credit application.
Okay.
And he can only access what is assigned to him.
So that's what you are trying to prove, right?
Yeah.
That's what you are trying to verify that system is working. Lender can only see his own application, not
Yes.
anybody else's. Okay. All right.
So if he is able to access
Okay.
the application which is not assigned to him, then the test is failed. So
okay,
if he can only access his own, that's how I came up with this.
I think your thought process is there. Dilip, you want to add anything here? Whatever she has.
Yeah, Harshal, though, before I say anything, I want to hear back from anybody else in the classroom to see if they have something similar or something different. And if so, something is different, then what is different? So anybody else, have they done this particular tree?
I tried, but I was like thinking of like in the screen where he get the notification. I had a doubt, like will he be seeing even the other credit application which he will not be having the access, or can he see only like can he view only the credit applications which has been assigned to him? Like that is what my main question, like doubt was.
Shruti, I think a requirement is right. They should be able to see only their application. That's what you are trying to prove using the test cases and test scenarios.
Okay.
And now if they are able to see anybody else's, I mean, your scenario here, specifically what Leela has it, right?
Yeah.
The application assigned to the lender and not assigned to the lender. So she had like a two different path. And within that, application not assigned to lender, then she has it like lender can access. So that one, so it's kind of like a negative scenario. She's trying to do that. And they shouldn't be able to access. She has it fail. So that's what it is. I think you need to think it kind of like in that terms, because you're trying to prove how can you prove that this functionality is working. That's what you are trying to prove here.
Yeah, like my tree also was very similar to what Leela has come up with. So like instead of like now I assigned, I have written like authorized to access.
Okay.
Not authorized to access.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else in the classroom?
Okay. Gifty.
Yes, Gifty.
Yes, Gifty. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was almost the same thing. It's kind of upside down. That's how I see it, because I started with a lender, and then lender can gain access. Lender cannot gain access, and then under lender can gain access, I had lender can gain access to only credit applications assigned to them, and can gain access to all credit applications.
Okay.
So Gifty, I didn't understand what was different for you than what actually Leela has been sharing here.
It comes down to the same thing.
Comes out the same thing.
But
okay.
My tree starts from lender instead of credit application.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think most of you have understanding, but I think there's a little bit more to this breakdown here.
Dilip, I have something to say about like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go
how
ahead.
can-
Tim.
So actually, I was not able to make the tree, but I have written the test case, complete steps how they are going to test if this is working. So first, there we while performing this test, so they have to send multiple applications, or we can say for now they have to send two applications to two different lenders. So then one lender, he is going to log in into account, and he will see like out of two applications. So he will see if the application that he received has his own lender ID, then that means the application belongs to the same lender. And the other applications, for the other application, then we're going to log into another lender's account, and we'll see if the same application that was supposed to go to the second lender's account has a lender ID that belongs to that lender. So these steps I have written in the test scenario.
But is
Case.
that a one test case or is that a multiple test case?
So I have written in the one test case.
So remember what we talked about it, right? When you write the test case, if it fails, are you able to come to a specific conclusion that this works or this doesn't work? So if you put both of those into one, how do you know which fails?
So like in both the cases, both that if the system performs its function, the both applications, they belongs to the lenders. So both the application must go to the lenders for the application belong to. So if the applications are going to the correct lender, so it will work, and if they are not, it means it's a failure.
Okay. So you are onto something, right? But you still have to think it in terms of scenarios, and then you have to be able to break it down, because you cannot lump everything into one test case.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are multiple things in this one, right? So if you look into a requirement, right, if you break it down, there are two components of it, right? One is lender's ability to access the credit application. So that's one thing. Second thing is the condition, which is only assigned to them. So there are two conditions that you need to test for it. And for that, you need to think about it, how you're going to generate the different conditions in the system to validate that both of that can occur, right? So I think, Leela, the tree that you're doing it is somewhat in the right directions, but I would think about a little bit different way.
Okay.
The one I would think from a cardinality point of view, because it's about only accessing the application that is assigned to them. Now, when Herschel asked it earlier, right, at what point this triggers in? So you all were right, but you missed one key point. It's the time when the dealer submits a credit application. At that time, they assign to a lender. Okay. So you may have to think about a scenario where if I'm a lender, there may not be any application assigned to me. Then what should I see in the system? I should not see anything, right?
Yeah.
So I need to test that scenario that, hey, there is no credit application assigned to me, and I'm not able to see anything. That's one test case. Second aspect is there is only one application assigned to me. Then I should be able to see only one, right? In the third scenario is there is more than one application in the system, but only one assigned to me. In that condition, I should be able to see only that one as the one that is assigned to me. Right? So those are the three scenarios that you guys need to think about it. nothing in the system, only one application in the system, and there are more than one application in the system, but only one assigned to me. Are you
Yeah,
guys with me?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I thought when the dealer submits the application, the email notification go to the lender. So that's when he access the application.
Yeah, but they can still, let's say if I don't get email when I log in, I should still be able to see it, right? I don't have to access email only every time to access the system.
Oh, okay.
Because I have a user ID and a password, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So if I log in, what should I see here?
Oh, okay. Okay. I was thinking the other way. When they get the email only, they will access the application. That's what I was thinking. Okay. That makes sense.
So Leela, based on what Dilip mentioned, right? So you have the credit application, then application assigned to lender. Now here, within that, you can have one application, more than one application. Those are different leaves, basically, as part of that. You could technically have it.
Okay.
Like a application assigned to lender, you can have arrow going down, and it could be 0 application assigned to lender. Well, it needs one application assigned to lender because that's what you are testing here. Then more than one application assigned to lender. And then you could have like a 0 application assigned to lender, or under application not assigned to lender, you could have 0 application assigned to lender. But you don't need to write it. Your lib can test that condition right there. So just a lib part, I think lender can access, cannot access. I think that part needs to be changed a little bit.
Yeah, because if in this specific diagram, Leela, when you say lender can access, if that's successful, then it's passed. If they are not, by default, it'll fail.
Right.
Right? So you don't need to create 2 separate leaves.
Oh, okay.
The absence or failure of one automatically indicates the second condition is true.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it should be just the.
It should be just a cardinality, right? 0, 1, and more than one in the system.
Okay.
If you don't mind, can we like now see the tree, how it goes on the screen?
I don't have it.
I'm sharing it.
it?
Yeah, I'm just sharing it here. Can you guys see my screen?
No, Harshal, we are still seeing Leela's screen.
Oh, Leela, can you stop sharing?
Okay. Okay. I will.
I just created something here. Let me go and share it again. Yeah, you can stop sharing your screen, Leela. That should be a stop share. Yep, there you go. So you can simplify something similar to that. Basically, this particular requirement, I mean, I just put lender here, but it's kind of like a requirement. Then one application assigned, greater than one application assigned, and no application assigned to the lender in this case. Essentially, what you have, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's an important to distinguish between the one app and more than one app assigned cases, because you don't know if system is showing you only one, right? When you do all 3 cases, then it will conclusively prove that you can see everything that is assigned to you.
Now here, you could technically have one more. You can have app assigned to other lender.
Yeah.
As a negative scenario, right?
Yeah, but that will be similar.
Yeah.
To sub cases for one of the 3.
Yep, that is correct. Other lender, see if they are able to see. That could be the 4th scenario as well.
Dilip, in this one, earlier you have mentioned like one application assigned to lender, no application, and the third was more than one applications were submitted by dealer, and out of those, one was assigned to a lender.
Yeah, so that was the combination. What Herschel has drawn it is that's the scenario that I was talking. But if you combine it and say, hey, if a lender has more than one app assigned and they can see only those apps, then that will take care of it.
Yep. So what you are saying is here I could break down all application assigned to the lender and more than or one.
More than
something
one,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of like break it down a little bit further. Again, here there is no right and wrong answer. As long as you are covering the scenarios to test out, make sure the requirement is valid. That's your focus is. How you come to that, it's on the QA. Basically testing for all the conditions. So
yeah, think of it as there's no right or wrong answer. It's just that the different way that I went to prove that. Just like what we talked about, the password requirement, that it has to be 8 characters, 1 uppercase and 1 special characters. Remember, we draw 2 different trees and still accomplish the same thing. So you can do this one in that scenario also. Okay. So now let's take a look at the second requirement, Herschel.
yeah,
You may
let me
have
pull
it.
that up. Okay. So we looked at the lender one. I think that was a little bit more involved, what we discussed earlier. Let's see if anybody has this particular requirement.
I can share.
Okay. Is it Leela? Okay. Oh, let me see if anybody else has it.
Herschel, you're
can
still
share.
sharing only the your whiteboard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you can move to
Yep,
the
yep. That's right. Give me a second.
Can
While
I
I was
For a
sharing the
second.
screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see it now?
yeah, it's coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah, has anybody done it for 2.12?
Yes, I can share.
Who is it? Wait.
Purwangi.
Okay. All right. Give me a second. Let me stop sharing. Yeah, go ahead, Purwangi.
Yeah, can you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, and right now it's showing the approval or rejection. I think it's what Herschel was talking about, the email one, email notification.
It's 2 point, which
12.
requirement?
2.12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you explain a little bit further, Pauravi, your thought process here?
Yeah, so after credit application is submitted, system shall notify lender via email. So I have written credit application, then submitted, and some credit application are in process. Then after submission, lender will get an email notification.
Okay. So that's what you are trying to prove, right?
Yeah.
That they are able to receive the email from there.
So walk me through it, Purwangi. What will happen, right? So if I'm a dealer,
Yeah.
I've just submitted the application. What should happen next?
So after submit an application, and notification should be sent to the lender.
So where would I get the email address?
I didn't get that.
So you said system should send an email notification, right? How did
Yeah.
system know? If there are 10 lenders, how did system know which lender to send? And how to get their particular lender's email address?
So I assume that the lender, when they submit the credit application for a particular lender, they will fill out the details, and in that detail, they will have the email. That's what I assume.
Okay, so your assumption is every time dealer submits credit application, as part of that, they not only will select the lender's name, but they will fill out all the other details for that particular lender also.
Yeah.
Is that feasible? Let's talk about it. If there are 500 lenders in the system, as a dealer, am I supposed to know everybody's email address?
No.
Okay.
Anybody else has any thoughts?
So
Yeah, hi.
go ahead, Vaibhavi.
So for this thing, I'm just thinking that it might be already saved all lenders' email address in the system.
How?
Before. Maybe it's from the starting when they are registered. I mean, in the registration process somewhere they.
Are you sure?
I'm just guessing. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
So remember, what did I say in the class on Friday? Or sorry, Sunday. The last thing you should do it is guess a requirement. Okay.
Yep.
So, Vaibhavi, my question to you is that something that you've seen it, or is that something you're guessing it?
I'm just assuming the system already knows the information.
So unless the document shows you that somewhere it's there, I would say it's don't assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dilip,
Yes.
I have seen the credit application document, and in the credit application document, so there is a lender ID.
Okay.
So
That's only lender ID.
Yeah. So that lender ID system should automatically connect the lender ID with the email.
But which one? That's my question. Is how do I know?
So when the system creates lender user, so we are giving complete information, lender ID and the email ID as well.
Right. So Dimple, where did you see that?
In the lender user. So we are entering the email ID of the lender.
Right. No, but where did you see that for lender user? When we're creating it, we are also entering the email address.
Did you see anywhere in the document, Dimple? That's what Dilip is asking. Or in what document and where exactly you saw it?
Just.
So you're on the right track, Dimple.
Okay.
Okay. So if you guys think of it in the system design document, when there is an entity of all the users, an email address is required at the time of the creation of the user. Right? That means when somebody creates a lender user, they also have to create an email address. And once a dealer submits a credit application, they select which lender it needs to go to. And system essentially, by that ID, then knows what email address is associated with that lender, and it will send notification to that. Okay.
So it's on page 13 or 14 in the system design document, where Dilip is talking about the user entity, which is nothing but you are creating a lender.
Okay. So my question is, now that you know, so Purvangi, you know how to get the email address. So
yeah,
is that the only scenario you have? Because the way you have in this diagram, the way I see it, there is only one scenario. And what about the in process? Why did you even show that thing there?
Actually, I was confused about the tree diagram, like what to write in process. So I just thought that Like when the credit application is in process, the lender will not get any notification.
I see. So you are trying to do the negative scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, understand.
But I was not sure that we have to write that thing, everything in detail in a tree diagram or not.
So has anybody else has any different tree than what Purvangi has? Okay, I'm gonna take the silence as no.
Sorry, I just want to add one more scenario in this tree that credit application is not submitted. So in that scenario, we can say system will not notify lender.
But that's no different than what she has it in process.
Yeah, that's true. But this is something like we can assume like that it is not submitted. Instead of in process, we can just say
so
final, final conclusion.
So let me ask you a question.
As a third scenario, I'm sorry, like with the in process, that's the second one. So that as a third scenario.
So what is the difference between something is in process? Tell me when would a credit application will have in process status?
I think in process can be like can be positive and negative both results. So we are not sure in process section.
Again, my question goes back to where did you see it in the requirement?
Yeah, so credit application is submitted, then it will notify to lender.
No,
so
you talk about in process could have a positive scenario and a negative scenario.
Yeah.
Tell me where did you read in the document which talks about a credit application is in the in process status? So let me walk you guys through it.
Yeah.
Right. And then you tell me what would be the status at each of the scenario that I'm going to talk through. Okay. A person comes to dealer and dealer is ready to submit its credit application. So he starts working on the credit application and he saves, but he doesn't submit. What status that credit application will be in?
In process or not submitted, I guess.
Okay, so Purvangi, you said that will be in process or not submitted. Which one it will be? Will it be same in process or will it be not submitted? What would be the status of it?
I think.
Again, don't think, right?
Okay.
I'll keep going back to it. If you think something, I'm going to ask a question. Show me where in the document this is said. Just simple.
So it's not mentioned in the requirement, like what should be the status of the application when dealer will save the application, but he won't submit.
Okay, so it'll be in some unknown status, but not in a submitted status.
Yes.
Is that correct assumption?
No, we have to check with the business user, like what they want us to do.
Okay, so let's go through it. Mr. Business Users, Harshal, what will be the status of credit application if I've just said it but not submitted, because I still need to go ahead and update some information?
So we are not anticipating that functionality, the save, intermediate save portion. The reason is that dealer has to fill out all the application information and then submit it right there at that point. There is no intermediate step as like a saving, they come back and then edit the application. We don't have the request. We have not requested that feature because it requires for them to go back and reshuffle through the find the application and edit the information and so forth.
Okay, great. So given this clarification, Purvangi, what would be your in process? Is it even a valid branch or not?
No, it's not
Okay.
valid.
So you take it out. So in your scenario, you just have now submitted only.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else has any other scenario based on the information that we just talked about?
So we can have like after submission, we can see if the system has correct lender ID, email ID, or incorrect. If the system has correct email ID, it will send a notification to the lender. And
how would I know whether it's a correct or incorrect email address?
So like while creating the lender user, lender has to give its correct email ID. So that's the only way we are getting the lender ID. So while creating user, if they entered the wrong email address, so then it won't send email notification.
Okay, so you're saying that you're going to branch off from submitted two different scenarios. One is valid email address, another one is invalid email address.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Purvangi, can you stop sharing your screen? Yep. Okay. So let me go and share here. See if I can jot down what Dimple is saying here.
And should we consider like no, if that credit application which has been submitted to the lender, he has the access to that it has been assigned to him or others?
Well, does it matter? Because remember, what is your requirement?
Yeah, it should like
It's going to be assigned to some lender, right?
Yeah.
And irrespective of which lender it is assigned to it, whoever it is assigned should get an email address, right? Or notification.
Yeah.
Right. Again, you have to look at it like it's the accessibility aspect. You already validated that in the other requirement. And in this requirement, now you're just trying to identify the notification component. So what Harshal has drawn it, right? Once I submit the application, it can take two paths. One is valid email address, and another one is invalid email address. Is that what you had in mind, Dimple?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else agree, disagree with this thought? And if there is any other third branch? All right. So Dimple, you say that there are two scenarios, valid lender email address and invalid email address. So invalid, I should get an email, right?
Yes.
What should happen in invalid?
So again, I need to check with the business user, like because whenever we have a wrong email address, so system automatically generates a message like its email address is not correct. So what we are supposed
How
to
would
do?
I know that it failed to send it?
So we need to check with the business user, like what they want us to.
No, what I'm saying is if there was an invalid email address,
Okay.
and system try to send it and it fails, how would I know?
Like you as a dealer or what?
Both as a dealer or as a system, how would I know it successfully sent or failed?
I have no idea.
Okay. Anybody else?
So when we send an email to someone, then it shows failed to send. So maybe something like that. When the dealer tries to submit the credit application and there is an invalid user, invalid email ID. So he will just, in the system, he will see.
Yeah, so there are two ways you can do it, right? You can submit it to a known invalid email address. And you can see it if that ever gets out, like as Purvangi said, if the system log captures that there is an error message, right? And then the other scenario is you put the valid one and you send it out, and you can actually log in into that lender's mailbox and says, did they receive it or not? Right? That's how you can validate one and the other scenarios.
Can you please explain how we are going to validate if the email address was invalid?
So if it's invalid, as Purvangi said, your mail is going to be bounced if it's invalid email address that it failed to deliver. Right? And system, your email system is going to generate the log file, so you can look into those log files. That's one way. Second way is you can expect it that, hey, email systems, I'm going to like it's, let's say I put my email as a wrong email address. And then Harshal picks me as a lender and submits it. Then I can log in into mine and make sure that I never receive that email. Right? Because it has gone to invalid wrong address.
So how we are going to verify that? Like,
how are you going to verify if you've got the valid lender email address?
Like for the valid one, we are going to log into the lender's email, lender's account, and we will see if there is a notification.
Right. That means you know what the lender's email address is, right?
Yes.
So in the second scenario, you will associate with that lender, you will enter a completely wrong email address and see if that lender gets it or not, because that's an invalid address, right? It could be a wrong address, it could be misspelled, or it could be completely wrong address altogether. In all those scenarios, that particular lender will never see that thing in their inbox.
So generally, I mean, when you send out email to some incorrect email, right? You have something, some notice coming back from another email server, wherever you are sending the email to, saying that, hey, this address does not exist. So in the email, when you send out, whether it's a programmatically or through the system, you always specify the to and from address. So generally, I mean, companies have like a from address is like a generic mailbox where they get all these bad emails if they have set up that way. But it's a little bit technical in nature. So you might have to work with the technical folks to see if you can validate the invalid email address account. It could be in the logs, as Dilip said, or it could be in some generic mailbox coming like invalid messages, address messages coming back to that mailbox, and you can see it from there. Obviously, valid email is a valid scenario, so that's something you should be able to test it, write the steps for it, and document it.
So I just have one question. So when we write the test case, so do we have to write a valid email ID, the test scenario for valid and invalid in the same test case, or prepare two different test case?
No, remember what I said. For every leaf, you're going to have a separate test case. Okay. So in this case, you have two leaves. You're going to have two separate test cases.
Okay.
Yeah, here you have 4 test cases in this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, in the previous one. Here you have 2.
Okay.
All right. Is everybody good? Any question on this one?
Right. Now, Harshal, let's pick a third tree. But what I want to do it is I don't want the people who has already presented shared that yet. So I don't want Leela.
Okay.
if there is a third one shared by anybody else.
I can share 2.2.
Go ahead, Shruti then.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Is it sharing?
Yes, yeah, we can see your screen, but the mailbox.
Okay. Oh, I think it's in my mailbox instead. So this is what I've done. Lender can only approve or reject credit application by changing the status. So when the lender can open the this thing, like he might have got new credit application, that is the received application, the application which has been already approved and which has been rejected. So when the application has been received or the pending applications can be changed to approved or rejected. The status can be changed to approved or rejected.
Okay.
So Shruti, based on this diagram, you said that you have 4 leaves or 4 test cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else has any different diagram than what Shruti has?
I just have one leaf that says credit application status, then lender, then one criteria only, and then approve and deny.
Okay. So rejected, that's what you have denied. Okay.
So Purvangi, the way I want to think about it is, if it's only one test scenario, what action lender is doing? Is he approving it or he's rejecting it? Or you think he's going to do both in the same test case on the same application?
No, he's just going to approve it or reject it.
Right? So you need to break it down. Right? So you need to break it down, right? You have to validate a scenario when he or she can approve it to successful status as an approval. And then he and she can do it second one where they can reject it. So you need at least two scenarios.
Yeah. So what I mean by one leaf, I thought one in the credit application status there is lender, then below there is one criteria only, and there is 2.
No. So the way you want to read the requirement is, if you think about it, it's whose viewpoint is being considered here. So in this scenario, the viewpoint that they're talking about is lender can do such thing, right? So you have to think it from a lender's point of view. In what lender is getting it and what action he or she is taking it.
Okay.
Right. So in this case, right, what Shruti said that, hey, if I'm a lender and I get a credit application, when I log in and I see a credit application, it is going to be potentially in one of the 3 status. It's either going to be a submitted status, it's going to be either approved, or it will be rejected. So I need to think about all those 3 leaves. So that's why she has drawn 3 leaves. And then she said that, hey, if it's an approved or rejected, I should not be able to take any more action. Because think about it, right? If you're approving somebody to get the loan and then you go back and reject it, what will be the business impact, right? The dealer might already have fixed the car and expecting a payment from you. You can't go back, and you should not be able to go back and change an approved status to rejected, right? And if you take a rejected status, the dealer has already rejected customer saying, hey, I can't fix it since you can't get loan. So the person is already gone. So you can't do that anything either. So that means the only thing left is, if it's in a submitted application, then I should be able to do some action. What are the 2 actions I can do? I can either change to approved, So that's one path. Second path is I can change to reject. So as she has said it, right, there are 4 distinct leaves that you can test it. Okay. Anybody else has any more than just 4?
I have 3.
So what do you have at Gifty?
Okay. I had only 3. And I had lender, and then under lender, I had lender can approve or reject credit application. And the other lead is lender cannot approve or reject credit application.
Okay.
And under lender can approve or reject, I have by changing status and by not changing the status.
Yeah, but that, Gifty, I want you to think about it. If you do it that way, what would be your steps? How are you going to do validate?
Shruti, can you please stop sharing for now? So Gifty, if I understand correctly, what you have here is a lender, right?
Yeah.
Then you have can change status.
No,
Status.
can approve or reject credit
Approve or
application.
reject. Okay. Approve or reject. Okay. So that's one. You have cannot change status.
Cannot approve.
Cannot approve and reject or reject. Okay.
And under can approve, I have
Okay.
2 legs.
Approve or reject.
Hold on.
Is that what you have? Reject?
No.
What do you
Okay.
have?
And the lender I have can approve or reject and cannot approve or reject. That's it. And
Oh, I see.
then under can approve, I have 2 legs, change status and cannot change status.
So there is, so
That's,
Harshal, instead of approve and reject, right? She has, I can change status and I cannot change status.
Oh, I see. I see. Change status and cannot. Okay. That's
Yeah. So Gifty, I want you to think for a moment is how would you write the test cases? How would you go about it? Right? So when you think about it, a lender, he cannot change status or cannot. So how would that be any different than the other path that you have it, which already says it cannot approve or reject? If I can change status, that means I cannot approve or reject. So it's one and same thing. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, right, more logical way is to take an approach where you say, hey, as a lender, I'm going to do something with the credit application. So let me look into what are the different statuses that credit application can be and what activities I can perform at that stage. Okay. So that goes back to what Shruti had drawn. That's most effective way you can validate whether the lender can make any action or not.
Yeah, here, I mean, if you change to approve or reject here, these items, so this could become your test case and then cannot approve or reject.
Yeah.
That's also, but you need to specify from what status to what status at that point. Yeah. I think then it will be same.
Yeah.
If you have that way.
Let's go to additional requirement.
Sure.
Ismail, do you have anyone that you have created that you want to share with the team?
Yes.
Okay. Which requirement you have it? Test cases or scenarios for?
I have the system should notify by email to dealer, and that's
2.4. Yep.
2.4. Yeah. Let me share that.
Okay. Yep. Let me stop my screen.
Can you give me a second to look for it? Okay.
Yep.
You might have to zoom in. Is it on your phone?
Yes, sir. I think I got it. No.
Okay, go ahead and explain maybe. I see the lender.
Yes. That's lender when he gets the application which submitted and assigned to him, then approve or reject. And the lender can now modify our, application data. Then notify, yeah, this is gonna be the last one, notify by email to dealer and area manager and design manager too.
Okay. So we are talking about the last one now, right? 2.11.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about 2.5, but this is like the tree now.
So how would you test it? I guess I'm trying to
Yeah.
see.
So I think it's what you have listed here, Ismail.
Probably the stats.
It's the requirements, right? And then it says here are the 6 requirements. Remember how we have done it in the class and how we reviewed the other 3. If I pick the system like 2.4 requirements, which is a system shall notify 3 different users or 3 different user types whenever a lender approves or rejects an application. What are the scenarios? What are the different leaves? What are things that you will test?
Yeah, I was gonna send an email to the right lender. I mean,
How?
like,
Remember, we just talked about just in the scenario when it's submitted, right?
yeah,
The system will notify. We talk about 2 different leaves. What about the different scenarios you're going to test it here?
it's gonna be almost the same thing with correct email and the not correct email.
Is that the only one you have to think about it?
There's 2 leaves. Then
Okay. Anybody else has done 2.4?
Yeah, I have done.
Okay. Ismail, can you stop sharing? Purwangi, can you share your?
Yeah.
Okay.
So walk me through this one, Purwangi. Like it's, so I think it's lender. When you say one criteria only, so you're saying, hey, my criteria is either approve or my criteria is either reject.
Yeah.
Right. So that's technically there are still 2 paths, right?
Yeah.
One criteria and that. Okay. So what happens at?
So if the lender approve, then email notification will be sent to all of this dealer representative, area manager, and regional manager. Same thing if the lender reject.
Okay. So in this case, right, I want you to think about for a moment, what does each one of your leaf represent now? Now you have 4 leaf, right? Dealer, RF rep, area manager, and regional manager.
Yes.
Well, how would you validate? How would you write the test cases then? Are you going to write one for each one of them separate?
Yeah. Like lender approve, then email a notification to dealer.
Okay. So
Just
that's
test that whether
one
every,
leaf.
Mhm.
But I want you to think about it. Is your dimensions are right? Okay. So whether it gets approved or reject, you just have only one test case. What if my approval works, but I don't get an email when I get notification or rejection?
Oh.
Even I have done the tree, I can share.
Okay.
Oh,
Do you see,
okay.
Purvangi, where my struggle is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Go ahead. If you can stop sharing, and Shruti,
Yeah.
if you can share it.
I'm sharing.
Okay.
Shruti, okay, yeah, it's coming up. It's slow. Okay. I think you went past it. It was 2.4.
This was 2.2. Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah. So I have done it as like lender can approve or reject. So like taking that into either of it should give the email notification. So lender will give the decision and the system will send the email to dealer, the representative, area manager, and regional manager. So in the dealer, he might get notified and he might not get notified. The same thing with everyone here.
Okay.
Okay. So you have total of 16 leaf, right? So if I take it, the first dimension with is approve or reject.
Yeah.
And for each one, you have 8.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one way. You do the exhaustive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Should we really do these many steps?
Yeah. So think about, I mean,
You
requirement
can, right?
says,
Yeah.
I mean, the requirement says, I mean, they all should get the notification, right?
Yeah.
What happens if one of them doesn't get it? I think that's what you are accounting for here.
Yeah. Well, like what if they're not getting notified?
So if you are expecting 4 people to get notified, I mean, if one of them doesn't get it,
Yeah.
what happens to your test at that point?
Yeah.
It should fail, right?
It should fail,
It
right?
failed, right? Yeah. If
So
even in one person does not get notified, the test
Right.
is failed, right?
so you should look for everybody gets it, or one of them doesn't get it. Basically, those are the 2 things. I mean, you can do exhaustive testing
Okay.
the way you have, but I mean, it's gonna be just you can simplify it with,
Yeah.
do they get it or not? Everybody.
Right.
Okay.
So Shruti, in this case, right, what Harshal is saying, start with your first layer, which is approve and reject.
Okay.
And then from there, it just says everybody who is supposed to get it gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at least one of them doesn't get it.
Okay.
Right. So, and repeat that for the second branch, which will be reject. So collectively, you have to do 4 scenarios.
Okay.
And that 4 scenario is still valid. Now you can definitely do like 16, what you have done it. It's
Okay.
called exhaustive testing, which is
Mhm.
fine, right? Because in this case, you can guarantee with the results, hey, I'm going to create a scenario where each one, and I'm not only just identifying that at least one of them didn't get it, but I'm going to also prove it that which one doesn't get it.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're doing an exhaustive testing, then you need all this 16, like what you mentioned.
Okay.
But at a minimum, you need 4, like what Harshal was talking about.
Okay. So this is also a right way, but this is more lengthier.
Exhaustive way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not say lengthier, it's an exhaustive, right? So it's covering every possible path.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the other one is still covering paths, but it doesn't matter. It's not trying to distinguish between which one doesn't get it.
Yes. Yeah.
Dilip, I'm not clear with this tree.
Yeah, can you stop sharing?
So Dimple, your question was the tree for the requirements or the tree that Shruti had it?
Yeah, the tree that Shruti had, like.
So if you think about, right, when you did the lenders will get notification test case, remember how you did 2?
Yes.
In that case, the status didn't matter because status was only 1, right? That was submitted status.
Yes.
In this scenario, you're going to look for 2 different statuses, approval and rejected. And then for that, she's saying for each recipient, I'm going to do it valid email address and not valid email address. So that's what the exhaustive, that's what Shruti had drawn.
So my question is like, so here we, like Shruti, she made 16 task cases. So for a complete test, like all the 16 steps after doing
All the 16 test cases have to be written and tested.
Okay. And after performing all the 16 test cases, then it can say, okay, this is now.
Yes, then only you can say this requirement is fulfilled.
Okay.
Right? That's one way. The other way is what Harshal is sharing right now. What it is again, when you write the test case for a given requirement, right, you can do it fully exhaustive test case, like what Shruti has done it, or you can do it minimal testing required to validate this requirement, which is what Harshal is showing.
Okay, so in this, like for one or more does not receive, like, so are we going to check, like first we're going to open the first dealer account and we will say he got this. And then
right. In this case, right, he's going to think about it as everybody has a valid email address in the system. Second one, he's going to say, hey, I'm going to select randomly one of the person who doesn't have a right email address. And I'm going to make sure that the other 3 gets it, but the 4th one doesn't get it. Right? That's all Harshal is doing. Because as soon as one of them doesn't get it, I fulfill the requirement that, hey, if they don't have a valid email address, they're going to fail to get it. Right? So the 4 bottom that Harshal has it, those are the 4 scenarios.
So can you clear with the one or more does not receive? I'm not clear with this one. So do we need to check for one by one?
Yeah, you will still check by one, but you stop checking as soon as you encounter the first one who didn't receive it.
Okay, sometimes it may be the first one who doesn't receive, sometimes it's the 4th
Could
one
be
who
4th
doesn't.
one. Yeah, it's based on your test data, right?
Okay, so in this one, like we did earlier one for the lender's notification system, so we are validating the email address, if it's valid email or not email. So in this one, are we going to test that one also?
You have to do that, right?
Okay.
Because when I'm not going to get it, when I don't have valid email address, or the system fails to deliver me the email address.
Okay.
I mean, you can clarify it here that, I mean, all 4 different folks here. same thing. I mean, this guy has invalid, this one has invalid, this one has invalid, this one is invalid. So it
Okay.
will get you 1 plus 4, 5, and again 1 plus 4, 5. So again 10, you will end up with 10 if you want to be very specific. So like dealer invalid email, the second one could be the RFRAP and so forth.
Okay.
Yep. So it could become exhaustive at that point. But it's just different way of putting it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any question on this one?
No, I'm clear with this one.
Okay. All right. Let me take a look at other one.
Vaibhavi, do you have any that you completed?
Yeah, I can share the last one, question 6.
Last
Site administrator can view credit application. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is the requirement, right? Site
Yeah.
can view credit application submitted by any dealer. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I can share my screen. Just one moment.
Kipti, if you have any, if you want to share, please do so. If you have any other requirement as well.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
Zoom in
a little bit more? Yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So I would say here, site administrator can view credit applications submitted by any dealer. So here I would say there are 2 scenarios, like site administrator can view or cannot view. So if we go with the can view option, then it will have a 2 option, like credit application is submitted or not submitted. So if it is submitted, then it can view by any dealer or maybe the particular selected dealer. And if it is not submitted, then it doesn't apply. And for the cannot view, it the process will not go ahead. It will fail.
So I want you guys to think about it as you build your test cases. Are all of them a correct test cases that you're trying to test it? So for example, right, this requirement talks specifically only about the credit application which are submitted, right? So the tree that you put it, that credit application is not submitted, does it even belong in this tree? Should not, right?
Yeah, should not. Yeah.
So I should never do anything which is kind of negates what the requirement is trying to validate it.
Okay.
Now, help me the difference between can view and cannot view. What do you have it in your mind?
Cannot view can be, so it cannot view means its application is not submitted. That is the scenario I'm just assuming. So
okay.
So it doesn't apply to test.
Okay.
Correct? Yeah.
So I want you to hold down your screen for a moment. Let me ask anybody else in the class, do they have anything different than what Vaibhavi has it here?
Okay.
All right. So let's look at now what Vaibhavi has it, right? So Vaibhavi, let's for a moment track the path when you say can view and credit application submitted, and then any dealer versus selected dealer. What is the difference between any dealer versus selected dealer?
So it means like because in the requirement it says that by any dealer it can view. So that can be a two possibilities, like it can be only one dealer can see, or maybe
Again,
all
it's not
dealer.
about it's not about dealer seeing it.
Mhm.
This one is about site administrator seeing it. Right. So if you look
Yes.
at the requirement, it says
Okay.
site
Yeah.
administrator can view.
Yeah,
So it's not
that's
about
true.
the dealer, it's about the site administrator.
Yeah, that's true. So I think the dealer who submit the credit application. So if the one dealer is submitting the application, or
Right.
the other, there are many dealers submitting the application.
Right.
Right.
So let's think about the scenarios, right? So if you go and pull the thread a little bit further of what you just said, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I may have scenario when none of the dealer has submitted any credit application. Then what should I view as site administrator? 0, right?
0, yeah.
Because there's no credit application in the system. So I should not be able to see anything. So that's first thing I need to validate, that if there is nothing else, I don't see anything.
Okay, yeah.
Second scenario is there is one application in the system submitted by one dealer, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Third scenario is there are 2 applications in the system, both submitted by the same dealer. Then I should be able to see 2, right?
Yep.
And the fourth possibility is there are more than 2 credit application or 2 or more application submitted by 2 or more dealers.
Okay.
And then I should be able to see all of that.
Yeah.
Right. So now if I do those 4 test cases, I prove it that I can see any number of applications submitted by any number of dealers. Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That means I proved it that site administration can view all the credit applications submitted by any dealers.
Yep.
Okay. So you have to break it down into 4 leaves, or one of the possible way to test it is break down into those 4 leaves, not by whether I can view or I cannot view, but by number of applications present in the system and by number of dealers who have submitted applications in the system.
Yeah. So can you show on your screen to us?
So Harshal, if you can stop sharing, maybe Harshal can share.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So the first scenario is there is nothing in the system, right? 0
no
application.
In system.
Right. Other scenario is only one app in the system. Since it's only one app, it's going to be submitted by only one dealer, right? Third scenario is there is more than one app in the system, but all submitted by the same dealer.
One or more for same dealer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fourth scenario is one or more by at least 2 or more dealers.
Okay.
Right. So those are the 4 scenarios that you can think about. Guys, good?
Can you explain how we're going to test with the one or more by at least one or more submitted by at least 2 or more dealers? Like how
Right. So think of that. That's a test scenario. Now you can set up the data to reflect that, right? So in this case, I would do it is I would log in as dealer 1. I'll submit a credit application. Then I will log out. I'll log in as a dealer 2, submit another application, log out, and then I will log in as site administration. And I want to see it. I can see both the ones that is submitted by dealer 1 and dealer 2.
Okay, so are we going to write all the steps?
Yeah, there's all are part of one test case. So all of those steps is going to be in one test case.
Okay, so under this one, like if we consider the case 3, like one or more applications submitted by the same dealer. So do I need to break this into two
No,
again?
no, it will be only one leaf. And in this scenario, I will first log in as a dealer. I'll submit application 1. Then I will submit application 2. Then I will log out. Then I'll log in as site administrator. And I'll make sure that I can view both the applications submitted by that dealer.
So what if site admin, he can view only one application, not the other? So that is
If he can see it only one application, then you proved it that the requirement is not fulfilled because he cannot see the other one.
Okay.
There is a bug in
Right?
the system. Yeah.
Because the failure of that test scenario proves that the requirement is not working.
So we're not taking the negative test scenario in this one.
What will be the negative test scenario?
So like in this one, one or more submitted by the same dealer. So in this one,
Yeah, but the failure of that, isn't that the same thing as a negative test scenario?
Okay. So like earlier we were
You have to think about it is there a way I can generate a negative test scenario in the system?
Mm-hmm.
What if the site like it's the developer has implemented this requirement correctly? How are you going to generate the data for the negative test scenarios?
Okay.
Can you generate it?
No.
Okay, so the only way you can do it is sometime in the absence of something is proving the theory the other way.
Yeah, you may not have negative scenario for all the requirements. I mean, sometimes you just won't.
Okay.
And that's where I think Dimple, what you pointed out is, hey, if I'm not able to generate a negative test scenario, then how do I do it? So when you build all those leaves, one of the consideration you have it is how I'm going to generate the data for this thing. Can I prove it?
Okay.
If you are not able to write the test steps for that negative scenario, that means it is not a valid scenario. You have to look for a positive scenario, and a failure of that positive scenario should be able to prove that particular condition that you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys good with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Any question, I think, before I proceed with other things? Okay. So we had only 7 or 6. You guys had it. I think there were some password ones as well, right? Where that was discussed in the class, Philip.
That was discussed in the class, right?
Okay. Okay.
So I think we went through most of them.
Yeah.
With the exception of lender cannot modify application data.
Yeah.
Can you please help us with that?
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Anybody?
So
yeah, anybody has it?
Let's start with if somebody can share their,
yeah,
and then we can look through it.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever has it, go ahead and share.
I can share. I didn't do that much, but I can show what I have done.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Vaibhavi.
Yeah, just one moment. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
I don't know, is this one correct, but
Okay.
I could only do this much. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just put in the 3 parts like can modify or cannot modify and doesn't apply.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's talk through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it doesn't work, right? Can you generate the test case test data for doesn't work? What does that mean?
It doesn't fulfill a requirement. That means like it doesn't apply.
Isn't that same thing as it cannot modify or can modify? So if I can modify, if I can modify,
mm-hmm.
then doesn't that mean that the requirement is not implemented properly in the system? Right? Because requirement says that I should not be able to modify it. So first question is, as I was talking in the other 3 also, have you picked a branch, which is in this case doesn't work, for which you cannot write test cases? You cannot write steps. Well, what does doesn't work means? Think of it, what steps you will write.
Yeah, I would go back one step further before. I mean, but what's your understanding of this requirement?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? What happens?
Okay, yeah. So as per I know, I just put as like can modify and cannot modify means it's positive and negative result, and doesn't work means it doesn't apply. Like we cannot just proceed with the requirement. We cannot do anything. It just doesn't exist at the first place.
Sure. At what step? I mean, they will come across this this thing. So the business process step. Can you explain that business process? See what's happening with this requirement, or when they shouldn't be able to modify. Lender.
Sorry,
I guess I'm asking is how do you visualize this thing if you are a lender, right?
Yeah.
How would you come across this requirement, or what point this requirement, I guess, will be there in what step of the process?
If we have data available, is that what mean? We can, I'm not sure, sorry.
Okay. Does anybody else know, I mean, when this requirement applies in the lender process?
When he receives the application,
okay.
Whenever like he is ready to approve or reject the application, he cannot modify any of the data which is already there on the application is what I understood by this.
Okay. I think that's a valid understanding. But then we have that requirement that says he can approve or reject the status, right? So when you say cannot modify application, anything in the application except that status, right? That's what we are referring to here.
Yeah, let me put in another example, right? So if somebody has submitted a credit application and says, hey, I want a loan for $5,000. Do you want lender to be able to go in and says, I'm going to change that 5,000 to 15,000?
No.
Right? So that's what the business implication of this thing is, that they should not be able to modify application data. And as Harshal pointed out, you have to think about it at what step or what stage in the business process I am, right? In this scenario, my credit application is already submitted and it's now with the lender. Or lender already approved and rejected at something. And can I go back and change any other data? Right? So it's post dealer submission is when this scenario is going to occur. Okay. Now, given that, what should be things that you should be looking forward for it, right? You should be looking forward is, can I change anything in the system as a lender, with the exception of obviously the credit application status that we talked about.
Sleep, can you clear one thing? So is it before a lender is going to accept, or one step before when a lender is going to accept or
It could
reject?
be that, or it could be right after I said something is accepted or rejected.
Okay. So basically,
Should I be able to change any data other than the status? That's the bottom line.
no. So basically it's this is all the credit application information. We can say that all the information in the credit application form that a lender is not supposed to modify.
Yeah. So your entire credit application.
Yes.
So all the data that in the PDF file that you had, right?
Yes.
The printout that Harshal showed, there is a 4-page credit application there. Is there any data that I should be able to modify? So for example, we talked about the amount, right? I should not be able to change amount. Should I be able to change anybody's social security number? Probably not, right? Because things is not supposed to change it. So all we are validating is that, is the system implemented with sufficient stringent access aspect that as a lender, I'm not able to change anything else. That's what you're testing. That's what you have to prove. So given that, how would you go about it?
So we'll log into the lender's account and we'll open the application and check all the fields in the application if they are in read-only mode, or if we can edit those fields. So if they are in read-only form, so then we can prove, okay, lender cannot modify the application. And if there is any field in the application which is editable, then we can say, okay, so there is a bug in the system. Lender is not supposed to modify any information.
Right. So Dimple, what you just described, right, is a one scenario, and the failure of that scenario validates it that, hey, this requirement is not implemented successfully. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other scenario?
I don't think so.
So what you describe is a cannot modify scenario, right? That's what you were review. When you say you will check each and every field, that is basically you're gonna check everything on the screen and see if they are able to change anything.
Yeah.
If they are not able to change anything, you're gonna pass the scenario at that point. But if there are some fields enabled or that they can modify, that means you're gonna fail it.
Yes.
So that's the only one scenario here in this case, right?
Yeah.
Is that sufficient to validate that requirement? It is, right? Because as you pointed out, Dimple, if I'm able to change anything, then it fails. At that point, I don't have to worry about what things I can change.
Yeah. So in this, actually, I made two cases, two leaves. One is all the information in the credit form is read-only mode, and the other is the information in the credit form is editable. So
But do you need both? That's my question.
Yeah, I made the two leaves here.
Right, but what I'm just saying, and what Harshal is pointing it out, you need only one leaf.
Okay.
Because failure of that leaf is nothing but the second leaf.
Okay.
Because if you think about, if somebody has implemented system properly, you're never going to encounter a scenario where you have an ability to edit a field. True?
Yes.
So you cannot generate anything for the second scenario in your case. So you
Okay,
have
so-
to go and say, hey, is the first leaf is implemented successfully or not? In failure of that leaf itself will point it to the second scenario. It's similar to like, is the calculator shows 2 + 2 is 4 or not? Right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And every time it'll show 4, but just in a case, if it doesn't show 4, that means your calculator is wrong.
Yes.
You prove right there. Agree?
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody else in the class? All right. So that was one part of the homework, right? Second part is now, maybe we can stop sharing if you like it. The second part was to write the test cases step by step, right? For 6 particular cases from this one, plus the 2 that we covered in class. So let's go through it. Based on things that we discussed, does any one of you feel that you're ready to share your test cases with a broader class? Okay. So looks like we have some doubt. So Leela, I see you're speaking. Do you want to share one of yours?
I can
just talk
share.
through?
I can share, but I'm not sure if it's correct or not.
That's okay. I'm not worried whether it's correct or not.
Okay.
All I'm asking is, do you feel you are ready to share? Do you feel you have captured everything that you want to capture so that we can talk through it?
Let me share.
Okay.
You're able to see?
Yep.
So this is for which?
2.1. The lender can only access the credit application assigned to them.
Okay. All right. So let's talk through.
In which particular scenario, Leela? We talked about a few different scenarios, right? For that. So is this specifically for one of those scenarios?
Yes. Application assigned to lender, application not assigned to lender.
Okay, let me see here. What scenarios we have?
So Leela, what Harshal is pointing out here is we talked about 3 or 4 different leaves. Which leaf is this test case representing?
So we talked about one application assigned, more than one application assigned, no applications assigned, or application assigned to other lender as well, and they are not able to see it. So out of 4, which particular scenario you have documented steps for?
Okay, so let me give some general feedback, Leela.
Okay.
On this one, right? So definitely, it's not clear which leaf you're trying to do it. obviously, also, I think it's you did a lot of cut and paste at the top where module name is still shows security. It should be the lender management.
I wasn't sure what to put there.
But when you look into the test steps, right,
Mhm.
in expected results, you have probably 4 or 5 test steps, but there is only one expected result. Okay.
Mhm.
And in the test data, you don't have the data. You just have a like it's kind of description of what test data should be. Okay. So I think it's what I would like you to do is go back and think about the test case that we covered in the class for the site administrator login. Remember how for every step you have an expected result.
Okay, I wasn't sure how to do this, so I just tried.
Right,
Sure.
but again, it's a good try, right? But now I'm giving you feedback
Okay.
that here are the additional things you need to do it, right? So I think it's if the Excel file is creating a confusion, then just go back to the Word document. Use the Word template, right? It's much more easier for you to map one-on-one, right?
Okay.
So you can do that. Also, if I look at it, the test summary for the 2 test cases that your row number 11 and row number 12 into this test case, they are exactly same.
Yeah,
So
that's where the leaf description comes in.
Right.
The
So I'm
picture
not
data.
sure which one is which. Why do you have 2 different descriptions and 2 different test data and test steps
No,
when your
that's
title
for-
and summary is the same?
So Leela, I think the confusion here is I think you had a test case template for Excel, which is supposed to be for one test case. So kind of like a tab you have, it is for one test case. So the leaf will have 4 tabs in your Excel, and each one will have its own steps and different expected result for every step. So you have, like, I'm looking at number 11, right? Row number 11. You have login as a lender. Then access. So you put all the steps in the one Excel cell. It should be separate cells, and then it will have its own test data if you want, and have expected result for every step. You will have the expected result, as Dilip pointed out earlier.
Oh, okay. This one I tried to do is like the top one is
Yeah.
the ID number assigned to the lender, and the second one is not assigned to the lender.
Right.
Yeah. So what you did is you put 2 leaves into one place.
Yeah. One place. Yeah.
Which one? So if this one fails, which condition didn't work? You cannot guarantee it, right? Because the first one might have worked, but second condition failed.
Oh, okay.
So now should I say the requirement is successful? Should I say if it's not successful, what part is not successful?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you feel clear with the Word template, go ahead and use that, because that's like a side by side. But otherwise, Excel template generally, I mean, it's fine as well.
Okay. And what I would recommend, yeah, and what I would recommend the first time you're starting with it, just write only one leaf. Don't try to write all 6 leaf, because that's where you're creating confusion, because you're not sure how to write it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Just write only one test case. That's why I said per requirement, we wanted you to write only one test case so that we can get to the process. How do I write one? Then you can extend that process and says, now that I know how to write one, let me write the second one. Let me write the third one.
Okay, in this one, then like, how do I start?
Just pick one particular test case and one leaf, and logically think, how would you go about doing it? Because the key here you have to think about is if I give you a system, how are you going to write? How are you going to test it? Whatever activity you tested is what we want you to write into step by step. So in the example that we were talking in the classroom, right? If I tell you that go ahead and buy one item from Amazon, what steps you perform, right?
Mm.
That thing that you will do, that is what step-by-step instruction you want me to write it. And after every step, well, what should I see it? That will allow me to proceed for the next step.
Okay.
Right? So when we did the login, site administered login requirement, right? The first step was, hey, let's just go to the home page. Can I see the home page of the application? Yes or no? If the answer is no, I fail right there and walk out. But if I do see a home page, well, then what is the next thing I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to enter my user ID and password and click login.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So think it from that. What is the first thing I'm going to do it? If that passes, what is the next thing I'm going to do it? If that passes, what is the third thing I'm going to do it? And all of them has to stay within the context of that leaf or that condition, which I'm trying to test it.
Okay. Okay, I'll try with this idea.
Dilip, can you clear in this one, the first requirement that we're discussing, if I'm supposed to write the test case for like more than one applications are assigned to lender. So it's saying more than one, then what are the steps which I'm going to write? Like, do I need to mention, okay, I'm sending.
So let's talk through it step by step, right? So Leela, you can go ahead and stop sharing it. And Dimple, you can share the scenario that you want to do it. But let's talk through it. In your mind, if I tell you, Dimple, you need to test this condition, what was the first thing you will do?
So which scenario are you talking about? The more than one applications?
Yeah, that's the scenario you want to talk about, right? More than one application.
Yes.
Right? So what would you do it first yourself? Forget about how I do it. What would you do?
So like I'm going to enter the URL for the company.
Okay.
System, and then we'll enter the login ID and password for the lender.
Right. So
and
first,
then,
I would just say it's right. You go to homepage.
Yeah.
Second step is login into the system. Okay. What is the third step?
Third, I will click the view application button.
Okay. What is the fourth thing you will do? So when I see view application, what should I see it? What is my expected result?
So because it's a more than one, so I don't know, like I'm supposed to check for the 2 applications, 3 applications, like how I'm going to verify that. So like if there are 2 applications, so I'm supposed to get the see the 2 application in the system.
Yeah. So remember, you have read the requirements. Right? You have come up with a condition. So don't worry about what system will display. What you expect system to display is the thing. So if when I say, hey, I have a view application button, if they click on it, what are you expected to see? Are you expected to see a list of applications or just one application?
List of applications.
If there is a list of application, what do you expect to see in the list? Maybe most likely, right? You will see a list of application. Then one of the pattern is, hey, now I'm able to click on one item on that list and it will display the detail of that item. Right? What is your expectation? That's what we need to write it.
So like there should be the list of applications. So if there is only one application in the system, so then the lender is going to check the application.
Okay, let me go back to the Google search example that we talked about, right? If you search for something under Google, okay, and you expect a list of site which matches that criteria to come back, what would you see?
Like all the links will come up.
Right?
Yes.
It will come up as a row, multiple rows on the table with ability to click on each row, right?
Yes.
That's the expectation. If I'm selecting certain criteria within the app, and that's going to return me more than one results. You can say, hey, I'll probably get the same way that I do the Google search. And then I'll be able to click on each individual item and see the detail about it. That's a possibility, right?
Yes.
So just assume that, hey, maybe this is the way I'm expecting. Now, when you get actual application and the developer has implemented a little bit differently than what you expected, you update your test case. Does that help?
No, actually, my question was that if we are doing the test case, like more than one applications are assigned to lender. So it says more than one in the test case. So it may be 2 or 3 because so.
Wait, so so tell me which requirement you're talking about.
So
Are you talking about lender can access application assigned to them?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So in this,
so
we have
there
scenarios.
are 10 applications assigned to me.
Okay.
Okay. So let's walk through it. What would you expect?
So there are 10 applications. When we're going to click the view application button, so it will show list of all the 10 applications.
Okay, great. What is the next thing you're going to do?
So that's what the requirement was. Lender can only access the credit application assigned. So that's what we were checking.
Then you have to make sure that each one of those 10 that is displayed is indeed assigned to this particular lender, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to check for each one the lender ID. Right.
So, and how I'm going to check it? I'm most likely going to click on that app.
Yeah.
It's going to show it. I'm going to go look for a lender ID field and going to make sure it's my name there.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Wrong?
Yes.
So if that is what you're going to do, that just write the steps for that.
Okay. So actually my question was that when we are saying more than one, so while writing the test case, do we need to mention in this?
Yeah. So think of it that more than one is the condition. What data you're using it to fulfill that condition, right?
Okay.
You can just say, hey, there is 3 applications.
Okay.
That's sufficient, right? Because it's more than one.
Okay, that's what.
You don't have to write, hey, there is a case for 3 and then there is another case for 5, because they both fulfill the same condition.
Okay, okay. So in the precondition, I will say I'm sending 2 applications to the lender. Now I'm going to verify if it's.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can put it in the precondition or you can list out all the steps. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, as you gain more experience, you might just put it in precondition. When you are starting out, you probably want to list out other steps as well, just for the learning purpose. But anyway, I sent you guys today's discussion in the email, all the scenario trees that we talked about, and then we had drawn the whiteboard. So hopefully that will help you guys create the test cases properly.
Yeah. So what I would recommend to everybody, right? We walked through all those 6 test cases or 6 requirements, right? And we drew the scenario. I would go back and update your individual test scenarios or test trees to reflect what we discussed in the class today, right? Make sure you have the right sets of tree that you're going to use it to build your test cases. So that's one thing I would do. Second thing I would do it is, if you have not written those 8 test cases that we talked about, then it's time for you to write those 8 test cases. If you did, but you feel that after talking today, you need to update your step-by-step instructions for those test cases, go ahead and do that. So that what we can do it is when we meet on Saturday, we're going to continue still review, right? So we're going to go through each one of you to present at least one test case to the rest of the class, and we'll review it. We'll identify an opportunity to correct those steps, fix those steps, and then go forward it. Okay. So this
Do we
Saturday,
have eight
well, you have
test
6
cases?
requirements from today, right?
Mhm.
And then 2 that we talked in the class. Remember the password instructions? And the second one was search, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, there was another one, right? Search was the one that we did before.
I think the login.
It's in the email that Herschel had sent it out, right? The PowerPoint, which he has sent it out where I had those 4 pages. It's in there.
Yeah, username, last
Yeah.
name and first name.
Yeah, username,
That
last
was
name,
one of
first
them.
name. Thank you, Herschel.
Yeah.
So it's a username, the password one, and the 6. So you have 8. What ideally, if I would be you, in order for me to learn, I would draw all of that 8 tree, make sure I understand how each one of those tree came around the requirement. And then I would pick one leaf from each of those trees and I would write step-by-step instructions for that. And that's what we'll review it in the class on Saturday. And since you have those 8 things, you have a variety. Pick 1 or 2, which you think it's very simple. Pick 1 or 2 that you feel it's complex. So you have in a practice to write each one of the types.
So I'm still not sure what to write in test data and precondition. Like whatever we are testing, we should write accordingly, assume something and write it.
Yeah, so think about it, Purvangi, right? So let's say if I'm trying to validate that a lender can access only their credit application. So then I should have in my test data, what is my user ID and a password that I'm going to use it to log in as a lender?
Okay.
Then I should have which credit application. So application ID that's going to be assigned to me, which is going to be present in the system.
Can you
And
repeat
what's
that
going
again?
So let's say each application is going to have an ID, right?
Yeah.
So I not only want to just say, hey, there should be something present in the system for me. No, then it's not sufficient data.
Yeah.
It should be its credit application with ID 1, 2, and 5 should be present in the system.
Okay.
And when I look into the credit application with ID 125, it should pull it up.
So,
give
do we have
specific
that
data.
specific data?
If you don't have it, you make the data because you have all the information required to build that data or create that data, right? Because you have in the system requirement document or design document, you have all the fields required and you have all the field types.
Okay.
And then you also have all the different types of user ID and a password in the document that we have given to you.
Okay.
So Purvangi, the key test is if I take your test case and give it to anybody else in the class and say, go execute this, can they run without asking you any question?
Okay.
If they can, then you have all the details. If they cannot, and if they have to come back and ask it, hey, what ID you want me to use it? That's a sign that you have a missing information in the test case.
So those are some of the things we will discuss or review on Saturday. But at least have few test cases so that we can review. Because it probably will not be able to write many test cases in the class. So we'll expect you to write it few from home, and those are the 8 ones through over the week. So we are hoping you will have it so that we can review it so that we can get you feedback. and so that you can correct it in a right way on Saturday. Plus, we'll review everybody else's as well, so that if you didn't write certain thing, you can review it and understand how other folks are writing it, what's the thought process that goes behind it, and learn from it. Okay, I think we are almost at the time here, so we'll probably wrap up in a couple of minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Leela. Do you have any question?
This is Shruti.
Yes, Shruti.
If possible, can we get one more test case sample so that it will be more clear? Maybe like the one which we have got is like very simple, maybe a little complex one.
Yes, I had the same question.
So what I would challenge to both of you, Shruti and Vaibhavi, is write one yourself.
Okay.
I or Harshal are not expecting to see a test case that is completely end-to-end, completely correct, right? It's a learning process. I want you to learn it. Think it, as I say, think from, if you have to do this in the system, what would you do? And just write it down, those steps.
And where the user's at, okay? I mean, so that's the one key piece. So if the lender is doing the work, think about how lender would do that. And how those are the steps lender would have to perform in the process in order to get the results. So that's the key part, okay? That's what you wanna assume, that hey, I'm a lender now, and I'm kind of like acting as a lender and following the steps, whatever they are trying to do from the business process standpoint.
Yeah. And initially you can think it from a high level steps point of view, right?
Yeah.
So let's take an example, right? Lender can approve or reject a credit application, right? So what we would do, right? So you can say, hey, one of my precondition is going to be a dealer has submitted a credit application and assigned it to me, and the ID is 123. Okay. When you write the steps, what is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go to the application homepage, right? Then you're going to log in. Next step is you're going to log in as a lender. Third step, you're going to pull up that credit application 123, right? Because it's assigned to you, so you should be able to see it. What is the fourth step? You're going to go to the status. You're going to try to change the status to whatever you want to, your test case talks about. Let's say if it says that you should be able to approve it. So you change that status to approved. Can you save it?
Okay.
When you save it, what is the next thing it needs to happen? The dealer should get an email, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back in as potentially as a dealer and see it. A, does the application now shows up into approved status? And two, do I have an email? That's it. Those are your steps.
Okay.
So think it of that way. How would I do the particular things that I'm saying that this leaf is going to test out to? And just write those step-by-step instructions.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, then we'll see you guys on Saturday then, 8:45 Eastern time. So
Yeah.
you guys will be okay.
Thank
Trust
you.
me. We have
Thank
seen
you.
it year after year, so you guys will be fine.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Just put an atom. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
thanks. Have a good night.
Sure.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night, guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.